Well, I'm here with Joe Geng. Joe is the Vice President of Superior Glove, an organization we worked with some time back, and Joe's kindly agreed to spend some time with me and talk about his experiences applying sales process engineering to Superior Glove. Thanks for joining me, Joe.
My pleasure.
So, can you start by telling us a little bit about who Superior Glove is, where you are, and what you do?
Superior Glove, we're a Canadian work glove manufacturer. We're located just outside of Toronto, and we sell gloves across North America and a little bit into Europe. And we supply gloves to all kinds of industrial applications like automotive manufacturing, glass handling, and all kinds of hazardous industries.
And how did you encounter ballistics in the first instance?
We just found, I think it was a YouTube presentation, just searching on the internet, we happened to find you. I think I just happened to type in sales process engineering or something like that, that term, I'm not sure why. And then when we saw your presentation, we were really kind of taken aback. And then after I watched it, I called in my brother and our sales manager, and the reaction was really pretty interesting, that everyone reacted to it, whether extremely positively or extremely negatively. There was really kind of a sharp reaction to it. Like, this is a great idea, but it's never going to work, or we really have to try this. And,
can you say which of the parties had which of the reactions?
Well, our sales manager said, oh, this is a good idea, but salespeople are never going to work with a sales coordinator, that's not possible for that to work, that they're not used to doing that, and they like the autonomy too much. And then my brother and my dad, they both said, oh, this is really something we have to try. This is a problem we've been having for the last since ever.
So let's wind back a little bit. Obviously, you have better things to do with your time than search for sales process on the internet. There was obviously I'm guessing there was some issue or some challenge that you were looking to address.
Yeah, I think probably where it originated from was we tried instituting a CRM system, and it didn't work at all. And the reason it was, we asked our salespeople to fill in the CRM after each call, and it was just the amount of work they were doing on it was pretty spotty, and the information we were getting was really spotty. So just going through that process, we kind of realized that, oh, this is not going to work with the salespeople entering it.
So even the CRM presumably was a solution to a problem. What were the core issues that you were trying to grapple with, in both searching on the internet and also prior to that, the whole CRM thing?
I guess we've just always had an issue with how our sales team was running, and the problem was, we never really had a handle on what was going on in the field. That sometimes we hire a salesperson, and then they would be a really bad salesperson, but we wouldn't know for the first year or even 2 years that this person was really underperforming, and we had no real handle on it. So we always kind of argued and debated, but we never really had a solution how to handle that.
Okay, interesting. So we ended up, I think, having a conference call, and then I came out and spent was it 1 day or 2 days on site with you guys?
Yeah, I think it was 2 days on site, and you kind of walked us through each step of it. And it was a pretty interesting process. There was a lot of debate back and forth.
So I want you to tell as much of the story as you're comfortable, but the breakfast story. So I'll give the preamble. I remember you picked me up. I hadn't had breakfast, so we're driving around town looking for somewhere to eat. There was nowhere, so you said, well, let's go to my mum's house. My mum can cook us breakfast. So we went to your mum's house, and I met your mum, which was great, and she made a nice breakfast, but I also met your dad.
Yeah.
Do you want to...
I know you mentioned that in the email, but I don't really remember what happened there too much.
So I remember your dad came out, and he sat down at the breakfast table, and you introduced me, and he said, oh, you're the guy who wrote the book about sales. I said, yes. And I think he asked me a couple of questions, but basically he wanted to find out what my position was on salespeople, and I was kind of umming and ahhing. And then I think he remembered that I was talking about reducing the size of the sales function, and he was kind of black and white. He wanted to know which camp I was in. I was either pro salespeople or against salespeople, and he concluded, not strictly correctly, that I was in the latter camp. And then instantly, the whole relationship transformed. I was like his best mate.
Yeah, I think that you did kind of find a special place in his heart, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my dad is really kind of, he comes from sort of an engineering background and technical, and he's always about production, that he never has a problem spending money on increasing production capacity or related production equipment, but whenever it comes to sales, he's always very skeptical of salespeople, and he's had bad experiences with salespeople in his past, so he's really hard on the sales function. So he really liked the idea of being able to just have more control and more visibility into the sales function. And for him, that was a big plus.
So we ran the solution design workshop. I think we got buy-in from the key parties. Your dad wasn't much interested. As soon as he got an inkling that we might be talking about reducing the size of the sales team, then that was enough for him. Can you recap on what the initiatives were that came out of that planning day?
Well, there was quite a few initiatives. We decided to put in a sales coordinator function with the sales coordinator handling 2 salespeople. And so the sales coordinator would be booking appointments and helping out that salesperson. We decided to ramp up our customer service function as well to remove more of the customer service work from the salespeople, or as much as possible. And then we decided also to add, I guess it wasn't really add, but formalize the distributor program where we had more buy-in from distributors and kind of create a closer relationship with distributors.
Yeah, so your salespeople are channel managers, really, in that I think one of the conclusions we made is that it made sense to put all the wood behind the one arrow and focus on just selling through manufacturers' reps rather than doing any selling direct. So consequently, your salespeople became pure channel managers.
Yeah, that's true.
And I should point out to viewers that that's one reason why you have been able to sustain a ratio of two channel managers to 1 sales coordinator. Normally that would be impossible, but because your salespeople are essentially channel managers, it's a lot easier to schedule their days.
Normally you have a 1-to-1 ratio, is that?
Oh, yeah. Normally because the scheduling of the salesperson consumes so much more capacity and so much more work involved. So before we talk about what happened afterwards, I remember there was an interesting conversation around whether or not it would even be possible to sell this new model to salespeople, because it wasn't just that we were talking about providing them with sales coordinators. That was the good news. The scary part was we were talking about moving them from performance pay commissions to fixed salaries. So can you talk about can you remember that conversation we had about whether it was going to be possible to sell it to salespeople?
Yeah, I vaguely recall. I think that we felt that it was going to be quite a hard thing and that people were going to revolt to the whole process. And then when we actually did have that conversation, I was completely shocked, because I would say about 80% of our salespeople were very happy to make the change. And then some of them just adopted it. It was like we said we were going to do it on Friday, and then on Monday they were running with it, and it was working perfectly for a few of them. And then for maybe a good percentage of them, there was kind of a transition period where they kind of got used to working with the sales coordinator. And then there was probably maybe 10 or 20% of the salespeople that really didn't like it and that kind of revolted. And they did it a little bit to maybe kick back to the program, but just over time they kind of got used to it. And some of them aren't really even 100% on it now that they're working as lone wolves, but they work well as lone wolves, and that's not really a problem.
Yeah, so I remember coming to Toronto to sell it to your salespeople. We did one session with the salespeople in person, and then we did a couple of conference calls, because I know your sales manager, I hope you don't mind me saying, but he was absolutely not prepared to pitch it to the sales team. He was convinced that there was no way on God's earth they were going to buy it, so he washed his hands of the whole affair. So I remember coming and running a series of these, and you know, I had experience, and my experience was normally it wasn't difficult to sell, but he had me worried. I'm thinking, well, maybe the sales team is genuinely different. So we ran an event, and we did a couple of conference
Yeah, I
calls.
was worried too, to be honest.
Yeah, and I remember, there's a slide where the bad news was. We said, well, we're taking you off, we're simplifying your calendar. You don't do any paperwork, no data entry into the CRM. That's the good news. The bad news is we're taking away control. You now have a executive assistant who plans your calendar for you, and oh, by the way, we're going to take you off commission and put you on salary, albeit with a small pay rise. And we'd asked them to hold questions to the end, and we got to the end and asked for questions, and I remember all three groups had exactly the same question. And the question was, what type of person am I going to get as an executive assistant? In fact, I remember, I think your brother had to prompt them for questions about compensation and about lack of autonomy.
Yeah, there was. It was a much smoother transition than anticipated. That's for sure.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about how it all played out? What did the transition look like? And obviously, I'm sure our viewers would like to know what have the consequences been. But let's start with how did it play out?
Well, at that point, we got quite a bit of help from you guys. That Mark, who was with Ballistics, he came into our office and he was here, I think, once a month or something like that for a few days, or once every couple of weeks at the beginning. And so after we rolled it up to the salespeople, we hired sales coordinators. We went through that process, and you guys kind of held our hand through that to make sure we got the right type of person for the sales coordinator role. And so we put the sales coordinators in place, and then step by step, we made all the changes kind of that you recommended, and sort of systematized it. We put in the computer system to track all the opportunities and follow through. And I guess the whole process maybe took about 3 to 6 months to really get it going, and then maybe about a year until everything was running relatively smoothly.
And what does it look like today?
It looks very similar to the way that you left it.
I hope so.
Yeah, there's no real changes in place. We still have the sales coordinators, and we're still using the same BCM system to track all the opportunities. And it's working well for us. Yeah, I think over time, those people that were a little bit reluctant to get on it, and the salespeople that didn't want to do it, they sort of adjusted. And then now everybody really likes it. Our sales manager says it's great. We're able to track opportunities and follow up. And the salespeople like not having to do the calendar work. And everybody, to the best of my knowledge, really likes the program a lot.
And has it had an impact on? Well, I've got two questions. Everyone's going to want to know, has it had an impact on sales? So you better tell us that. But I'm also interested in, has it had an impact on customer service and anything else? Your ability to retain salespeople or to get good salespeople, or any other factors that might relate to the sustainability or scalability of the whole thing.
In terms, well, I guess the first thing I'll speak to is the results. We've seen a really kind of a dramatic increase in sales. Like a normal increase for us in the industrial glove market, it's not a booming market by any means. So a good sales year would be for us would be a 5% increase, or maybe, I guess a 5% increase would be sort of typical. And if there's a recession, then a decrease. But even through the recession, we've seen a pretty dramatic increase in sales. That this year we're about 25% up in our sales over the previous year. And I think some of that is economy, but also some of it has to be attributed to the sales process as well. So I guess that's really the results that we're seeing.
And if you boil it down, it's real simple. It's the cause is real simple, and that's simply that your salespeople are spending significantly more time face to face with reps.
Yeah, we're just seeing that many more customers, and it's essentially like we've increased our sales force, I would say, by double or something like that, and that they're able to do that many more calls. So that's the result that we're seeing. And I mean, it probably took about a year before we really started to see some significant results, just because the sales cycle time is quite long.
Yeah, and you're selling to a channel, not direct.
Exactly. Yeah. So the decision process is a little bit long, but after the year, then things really started to get rolling. We're still seeing that impact continuing as well.
And so what about the rest of the sales function? Can you talk to customer service? Can you talk about the ability to retain salespeople or attract new salespeople, perhaps?
Well, for the scalability, we like that a lot because it's one sales manager can manage a lot larger sales force, and we can add more salespeople per year because we can see the problems that we're having. So we hire a new salesperson and they're not working out, or there's issues coming up. I can look in the calendar and see what's going on with that salesperson. They don't have any appointments set up. Maybe we could increase marketing in their territory. So it's a lot easier to hire salespeople and get them running, and get them appointments and get them in the door. And then also just that comfort level from a management standpoint and be able to see actually what's going on. So the scalability is much better than it was before. Because before it would take a couple of years before we knew if the salesperson was working out or not.
Yeah.
Now we know within a few months if there's issues. And then we can address those issues a lot quicker.
So do salespeople feel like they're better off or worse off for the changes?
I think for the most part, the salespeople overwhelmingly feel like they're better off for the changes. That they don't like doing the customer service work. They're kind of getting there's more management help if there's issues. We have a better idea of what's going on in their territory. So I think they like it better.
Okay.
The customer service function that's something that we're still working on. That's the one area that's been a little bit weak. We kind of ramped it up, but we didn't really have the systems in place or the kind of the quality in place. So the salespeople are still getting too many inquiries or too many customer service issues where they've called customer service and they didn't do a thorough job at following up, or there's just not really the systematic approach to customer service. So that's one thing that we're doing now is we're kind of going through the customer service function and then systematizing each step or kind of like each inquiry or each different function that they do. We're putting standards in place to try to increase the quality of the customer service and to have a little bit more measurement in place for that function as well.
Yeah, and that's critical. And obviously, I think we started by working on customer service, but when you're talking about growth of 25%, top line growth of 25%, keeping up with that must be pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's manageable, but it's difficult. I don't think we would want to grow at a faster rate than that because it's so much to manage, or it's too much to manage well and handle it well.
Okay, so last question, what's next on the horizon?
I think next for us is we're working on increasing the leads that we're getting, just because we need to be able to increase the amount of leads per sales rep just to keep everybody busy. So that's a little bit of a challenge. So we're getting a lot of stuff to our website and a lot of internet marketing and that kind of thing to improve just the lead quantity and lead quality that we're getting. I think that's kind of the major thing. Honestly, we're also looking a little bit at giving our salespeople a bit more tools in terms of what they do when they go into a sales call. So we're just sort of at the research portion of that, of the actual sales process for the salesperson once they're in the door, if it's a new lead or a given lead. Because I think what we've done with ballistics is we've increased the quantity, but not necessarily increased the quality. So I guess the way you put it in your presentation is that we've magnified the number of calls that they're doing, but we haven't increased their conversion rate. Mm-hmm. So I think now we're trying to look at the conversion rate a little bit more. And the way we're doing that is to maybe give the sales call a little bit more structure, see what extra tools we can get them.
Absolutely. And you're doing it in the right sequence. Most organizations try and do it the other way around.
Yeah, because I think that there's a lot more benefit in increasing the number of calls they can do, just because there's that much of a gap, right? That we've essentially doubled or tripled the number of calls a salesperson can do in a given week.
And also you have gained control of the sales function. So salespeople are no longer operating autonomously. So now you're actually in a position to make those changes that are going to impact on quality, whereas previously all you could do is make suggestions from the sidelines.
And just guessing, I think we might be able to increase the conversion rate by 10% or 20%, but it's not going to be that significant.
No.
It'll be just a step improvement, not a magnification.
Great. Well, this has been terrific, Joe. I appreciate you taking the time out. I'm sure it's an interesting story. I know it's an interesting story for our viewers to watch. So thank you so much, and good luck. Good luck with the work you're going to do on increasing the salespeople's effectiveness.
Right. Thanks very much, Justin.
You're welcome. Bye bye.